This week, the FAA targets the LSA movement. 2 pilots were lost in international airshow accidents, and the Pilot's Bill of Rights passes in the Senate. I'm Ashley Hale. Welcome to the first new bi-weekly edition of Airborne here on Aero TV. If our program seems a little short to you this week, it's because we've officially split Airborne into 2 shorter segments. Each week, you'll get your dose of Airborne on Tuesdays as well as Friday, allowing us to make the news more timely for you. The recent publication of an FAA Notice of Policy is creating some concern among the LSA community, while ANN raised the possibility in stories appearing last year after a few audits went bad and manufacturers were restricted. We're displeased to see the FAA take this course of action at a time when the LSA industry is at best struggling to stay alive. The FAA document entitled Issuance of Special Airworthiness Certificates for Light Sport Category Aircraft has a 30-day comment period that is scheduled to end on July 30th, 2012, literally as Oshkosh comes to a close. With this, the FAA has signaled that its hands-off policy toward the ASTM-guided LSA community seems to be at an end, especially for those LSA manufacturers importing ships from outside the U.S. After years of horrific guidance from so-called industry leaders and associations, the poorly directed and defined LSA segment could be dealt a crippling blow by FAA restrictions and bureaucracy. Worse, instead of taking a role in aiding the community to comply and grow with the help of the FAA, they now seem more interested in asserting a sky cop role that can only be counterproductive. The FAA summarized this action document, stating that, quote, based upon its assessment of the special light sport aircraft manufacturing industry, the FAA is issuing this notice of policy to inform the public of its policy for assessing the accuracy of declarations made in statements of compliance issued for aircraft intended for airworthiness certification as SLSA, and to ensure that SLSA conform to identified consensus standards. Additionally, in response to findings noted in its statement of the SLSA manufacturing industry, the FAA is reiterating its policy regarding the airworthiness certification of SLSA manufactured outside the United States. The aviation community now has less than 30 days to comment, and the topic is expected to be a hot one at AirVenture. As always, we'll keep you informed. It was a rough weekend for the airshow community as an L-39 Albatros went down in South Africa and a deHavilland Hummingbird DH-53 went down in the UK. Our friends at African Pilot magazine told ANN that at a Saturday morning airshow in Klerksdorp, South Africa, L-39 pilot Gianfranco Ciccogna went down about 10:30 local time. African Pilot magazine reports that, quote, it appears that nearing the completion of the final loop in his privately owned L-39, following another L-39 information, he got into wake turbulence of the lead aircraft and encountered a compressor stall, quickly followed by a high-speed wing stall before impacting the ground at a 50-degree downwards angle. His plane literally blew up in a massive fireball. Fortunately, well away from the crowd, so no spectators were hurt in the accident. A little bit closer to home, but still on the other side of the pond, the amazing Shuttleworth collection suffered the agonizing loss of a well-known and highly regarded flyer. Former RAF pilot Trevor Roche went down Sunday in a rare 1923 deHavilland DH-53 Hummingbird, thought to be the only one flying. Highly respected, Roche was a British Airways pilot and Gulf War veteran. Shortly after the accident, the military pageant air show at the Old Warden Aerodrome near Biggleswade, Bedfordshire, was canceled, and a spokesman for the Shuttlesworth collection noted that, quote, Today's planned air show has been canceled to allow accident investigators to assess the scene. We would like to thank both on-site and external emergency crews for their prompt reaction. After a year-long effort, U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe saw his proposed Pilot's Bill of Rights pass in the U.S. Senate. Tom Patton reports.
Inhofe, a member of the Senate General Aviation Caucus, along with being a certified flight instructor with more than 10,000 flight hours, celebrated the Senate's unanimous passage of his bill on Friday. Inhofe had introduced the bill to the aviation community at Oshkosh last year and has worked since then for its approval. The bill, if signed into law, would provide pilots with greater due process rights when faced with FAA enforcement actions. Those would include a requirement that in an FAA enforcement action, the agency must grant the pilot all relevant evidence 30 days prior to a decision to proceed with an enforcement action, and the introduction of an option for federal district court review of appeals from the FAA. The bill also requires a NOTAM improvement program requiring simplification and centralized archiving of NOTAMs, makes flight service station communication archives available to all pilots, and reviews the FAA's medical certification process and forms. At present, there is no companion bill in the House. Still, Senator Inhofe called the bill's passage a great victory, saying, quote, "This bill remedies many of the most serious deficiencies in the relationship between general aviation and the FAA, and ensures that pilots, like everyone else, are treated in a fair and equitable manner by the justice system," end quote. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
You're watching Airborne. More in a moment.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible.
We're using technology to make this kind of training accessible to all flight schools of all sizes and all budgets, and to democratize flying in general, because we make this kind of training more accessible to people.
For more information about Redbird Flight Simulations, as well as Redbird's new Skyport, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com or www.redbirdskyport.com.
Each week, we share with you a sample of an online video one of our viewers found especially entertaining. We call it AVW, the Aero Video of the Week. In this week's video, ANN's editor-in-chief offers a short intro into a video depicting one of the most touching tributes any flyer can offer, the missing man formation.
There is no more touching an event in a pilot's life than being able to view or participate in a missing man formation. Last month, 15th of June, the Northeast Bonanza Group Formation Flying Demonstration Team were asked to provide a memorial flight for an American Cancer Society Walk for Life event in Virginia. Two of the people being memorialized that day were pilots, so the pilots involved in the formation also conducted a missing man tribute. Lead pilot Woody Diamond knew both of the pilots and is also a cancer survivor. Take a look at this video, see if you don't get as choked up as I did, and just know that pilots still are the best people over Earth.
To find this video, go to YouTube and search for NEBG ACS Memorial Flight 15 June 2012. If you have a suggestion for a future AVW, send us a link to news-spy@aero-news.net. 3 Chinese astronauts, including the first Chinese woman to fly in space, have returned safely to Earth following a 13-day mission in which they successfully docked their Shenzhou 9 capsule to the Tiangong-1 Space Lab prototype already in orbit. The landing was broadcast live on Chinese state television. During the mission, the crew conducted manual and automated docking procedures with the orbiting module. China, which is not a partner in the International Space Station, has said it plans to put its own space station in orbit by 2020, which is about the time the ISS is expected to reach the end of its useful life. The docking was considered a milestone for the Chinese in proving they could couple two spacecraft together while orbiting the Earth. The mission was only China's fourth manned spaceflight and the first in several years. China last put a human in space in 2008 and before that in 2005. In what was billed as a major strategic announcement Monday, which was maybe one of the worst kept secrets in aviation last month, Airbus said it will establish a manufacturing facility in the United States to assemble and deliver A320 family aircraft. Located at the Brooklyn Aeroplex in Mobile, Alabama, it will be the company's first U.S.-based production facility. Airbus stressed that the assembly line, which will create jobs and strengthen the aerospace industry, is part of its strategy to enhance Airbus's global competitiveness by meeting the growing needs of customers in the United States and elsewhere. The facility in Alabama will assemble the industry-leading family of A319, A320, and A321 aircraft. The company said construction of the assembly line will begin in summer 2013. Aircraft assembly is planned to start in 2015, with first deliveries from the Mobile facility beginning in 2016. Airbus anticipates the facility will produce between 40 and 50 aircraft per year by 2018. The company said that the new Mobile assembly line, together with associated functions, should create as many as 1,000 new high-skilled jobs. SpaceShipTwo is 2 steps closer to making its first powered flight after the suborbital space vehicle successfully completed its first glide flight test since a recent integration period for rocket motor systems and maintenance. On the same day, on June 26, the spaceship's engine, Rocket Motor 2, underwent another successful full-duration test fire, making the first time the company and its partners have undertaken test flight and test firing on the same day. SS2 was air-released from White Knight 2 at an altitude of 51,000 feet. At the SS2 controls were Scaled Composites pilots Pete Siebold and Mike Alsbury. The rocket motor firing was performed by Sierra Nevada Space Systems, the prime contractor for the RM2 system. The 55-second test was the 13th full-scale flight design RM2 hot fire. Both milestones prime Virgin Galactic to reach powered flight by the end of the year. That's our program for Tuesday, July 3rd. Don't forget, we'll be bringing you live coverage of Oshkosh again this year with daily airborne programs Monday through Friday, July 23rd through 27th at 8 p.m. Central Time. We hope you'll join us. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again Friday with another edition of Airborne here on Aero TV.